Yeah, we walking across Hattiesburg 4th Street and 38th Avenue. That's lead to the 7th Street, and there's a cemetery over there. And that's an art for the show Lao, a canned Lao. And we have several good business around this corner: Strix Barbecue, Mercury Pizza, Jackson Harvey, and the gas station. And this street will lead into Southern Miss, University of Southern Miss, and baseball field, and basketball court, and football. All over here, you go there. And you have business Sonic over there. You get apartment right on this corner, and beside that's a long leaf trail, 40-mile long leaf trail. Start with Hattiesburg and to Printings, another city right here. And if you keep walking right here, you will see a quiet little corner, quiet little stands, quiet little bench commercial. That's a story behind that bench commercial there. Nobody barely recognize that. Barely recognize that. I have friends who working in the Sonics for time, and every day he driving past here, just in front there, he's not recognize their bench commercial right here. But in a quiet place on this corner beside the Sonics, there are a story. Well, here you cannot see it. You still cannot see it. You still cannot see the bench commercial right here when you walk here. And you see a bench right here, and there's a story and hiding in this bench. The story hiding this bench. The story is about a COVID fighter. A COVID fighter. That a story that happened in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So a COVID fighter, he don't have a lot of resource, but he always has a vision. The COVID fight, it should be all people on deck. It doesn't matter you have, you don't have, whatever you work, is medical, government, or whatever. Everybody have a job for the COVID fight. That means if you have a job already, you have two jobs. One job fight for COVID. If you don't have a job, now you have a job fight for COVID. That's kind of mentality for somehow that God sent to this gentleman here. And he said, we are fighting for this COVID. He think that in the pandemic, he said the pandemic too big, overwhelming the system, the government, the medical system, all the professionals, all the first responders, and it's so big that needed everybody to fight together to save our families, save our grandpa, grandmas, so let them live a dignified life instead of killing by the virus. And also save the underlying condition people, save the invulnerable people, and let them to keep them safe. So that, we all in this together. That's the kind of story that God put this gentleman's heart and for that. And he was said, the pandemic is kind of fighting pandemic. If you look at a picture like a big picture of the puzzle. So everybody is a little piece of puzzle. And so we all do our part, we put the puzzle together. So in the end of the day, we fight the pandemic, we fulfill this picture that the pandemic fight. And then everybody put our little piece, a puzzle on it, and then the puzzle will be full. And the puzzle never be fulfilled until our last puzzle was put in. So that's kind of what is driven for what he's doing. For this pandemic time. And there are a lot of stories and about how to fight the pandemic. Fight the pandemic is many ways. You help your neighbor to fight the pandemic, and you mow the grass for your neighbor's nursing. She was the first responder in fighting pandemic. Buy some food for the nursing, the responders. That's a fight for pandemic. And buy some fruit for the truck driver is fighting the pandemic. And pray with the family. They are separate, and hope them get together. That's fighting pandemic. And go eating bravely in the restaurant, not be feared. That's fighting for the pandemic. To support the local business. But everywhere you go, you always have layer protection. That's a fighting for the pandemic. There are many, many ways for the pandemic. Share with the friends and recognize the people who do the job, in nursing and doctors, and pat them back and say, thank you for your hard work. That is the fighting for the pandemic. Go to church, worship in the church, and go to the funeral, whatever, keep the life of normality, but always keep a layer protection. And that is the fight for pandemic. We say in the pandemic, we not fear, we not lock it down, we not just stop what we're doing and with the panic, but just live our life normal, but always have layer protection. That is our fight for the pandemic. Recognize the pandemic an invisible war and a non-boundary war. It can be anywhere, anytime. The most place we call safe is home, but now the pandemic, the virus can be at home, and most people get the virus at home. And recognize that. So always keep a layer of protection, even at home. That's fighting for the pandemic. If you have homeless on the street and they wander around, don't know where to go, invite him come to the business you open, or invite to give them a shelter, let them live for a couple months. And that's a fighting for the pandemic. And embraces everybody. And we're all teammates. We're all the pandemic fighter. We're all one team. That's a fighting for the pandemic. Anytime is a risk. You risk some financial, you risk some kind of even freedom, and you take the risk and fighting to save people's life, and that's a fighting for the pandemic. You overcome the misunderstood by the people. They think you want to make a rich after you from the pandemic, take advantage of other people, and disregard that. Still keep doing what you do. That's a fighting for the pandemic. And make a specialty, a breathing apparatus, like this nasal filter, and keep everybody protected at all times, even you're dining, you're drinking, and you're sleeping, and protection. Filter the air 100 times cleaner, remove all the virus particle, dust, and beyond. That's a fighting for the pandemic. Recognize the pandemic is not over, and recognize the air pollution, the particles, all the air pollutions is a damage to our society 10 times more than the actual pandemic, and that is the fight for pandemic. Recognize the pandemic, it can come and come again. And that's fighting for the pandemic. And recognize the respiratory protection and breathing healthy air, and embrace the ways of breathing healthy, and for the overall health, and that's a fighting for the pandemic. Travel around in the airplanes, in the subways, go to New York, go to Chicago, go to Los Angeles, and join the football team, watch a game, and join conference, and but always have layer protection, and that's fighting for the pandemic. Share your car with your colleagues in the time they need it, and share whatever you have with the people they need it, and make the life easier. And that's fighting for the pandemic, because everybody is your teammate. We're all the one team fighting for the pandemic. Keeping exercise, keeping go outside to get some sunshines, keeping eating vitamins, eating healthy, vegetables, hot soup, and open a karate dojo. Let all people training outside, but also keep a layer of protection when you get together. And that's fighting for the pandemic. Against the odds, when people even very close don't understand you, didn't see the vision you see, and still keep doing what you do. And that's fighting for the pandemic. Not giving up, even when you get fined for holding some pandemic flyers or holding the pandemic fightings and the banners, and that's for fighting for the pandemic. Still keep going, even you are an invisible fighter fighting in this invisible fight. You are invisible to your neighbors. You are invisible to your church members. You are invisible to your colleague, to your boss, to the city, to the government, to whatever. But you still keeping fighting, not give up. You risk lost your health. You risk lost your job. And you risk all of that, but you realize the potential this can protect people. And you realize if you can see one person life, and one person life, make one person avoid, go through the long hurting, you think that's worth it. And that's fighting for the pandemic. You spend $2,000 to do a Facebook ad to qualify the pandemic, and misunderstood to try to make money out of that, and people shame about what you do, and people calling that people in the far away know we have stupid thing in Mississippi, and you still not let it hold on, and still keep going, keep your fight. That's fighting for the pandemic. You spend a $10,000 hire agent to share the word about put layers of protection. Whatever you do, always have a layer of protection for the invisible, non-boundary pandemic fight. And you share that message. And this message go to the Yahoo and go to whatever the media. And you push it. You think whatever you spend is worth it. And just have this message out there that everybody can be a team. Let's fight the pandemic together. That's a fight for the pandemic. You spend $20,000 to hire an invention company. They can help invent or promote the nasal filter, promote adapter from medical mask to N95 grade. And that's a fighting for the pandemic. You're sending the breathing filters device and to the New York hospital in the first burning up, first break out the virus. And that's a fighting for the pandemic. And realize that you use whatever you have, do whatever you can to make a contribute. That's fighting for the pandemic. You share the mask to the locals, local hospitals, local groceries, local churches, and share with them. And friends ship the mask to you, family ship the mask to you, you share with all. And that's a fighting for the pandemic. You pick up a student from the USM that he traveled from China. In the last day, they're shut down the border. And you help them pick them from New Orleans. And then help them to do a self-quarantine. Make sure he's okay. And make sure he's not bringing the virus to the community. That's fighting for the pandemic. You calling to cancel a party that just before the pandemic broke up in USA, that let's stop doing that. Let's hold the party later. Let's handle the pandemic right now. Let's decrease any potential risk that can cause the hurting, people die. That's fighting for the pandemic. You call in the hospital and tell the nurses that for their medical mask they wear, they can use some adhesive to sealing. Sealing better, make sure every air with the filter, proper filtered. And that's fighting for the pandemic. You travel to Cleveland for the business trip. You wear all the protection, your nasal filter, your mask, and all the face shield. And when you go through the security guard, security check, you leave your nasal filter on, they don't bother. They ask what it is. You share that. You always have layer protection. You do whatever you do, but always have layer protection. That's fighting for the pandemic. You visit friends far, far away and bring your device and make a nasal filter right there with the families, with the kids, share them how to make it, how to wear. And that's fighting for the pandemic. You write a letter to the mayor, to governors, and even to the president to just share the pandemic fight. Invisible, non-burden, we need to have all-time protection. Always a clear layer protection, and let's help people to know the knowledge about the pandemic, how to protect. That's the fighting for the pandemic. You write a letter to the principals to share, utilize the classroom, let our students to learn how to fight the pandemic, how to keep a layer of protection, and let the student bring back to the family to make all the parents be a pandemic fighter. And that's fighting for the pandemic. You document many different devices, different ways in the USPTO and document that. And you can keep people in the hospital breathing outside the air when they're there for the doctors, for the patient. But all the patients that breathe in toxic air, you can send it out outside the building. You're keeping the ways to protection, structure that, how to make it happen. That's fighting for the pandemic. You're writing a card, encouragement for your colleague's grandma in the hospital, and writing there, encouraging her and not give up, pray for her, and that's fighting for the pandemic. You share with the friends that in the pandemic, we all have a job, and we have 300 million Americans, and everybody have a job, 100%. Everybody have a job fighting this pandemic. And that's fighting for the pandemic. Everybody on board. Whatever you do, always have mindset, the pandemic going on. We have a job to fighting the pandemic. We want to make contributions, but we don't want to getting things worse. That's fighting for the pandemic. You try to support local business and beyond. And somebody come to the house, repair your door, your garage door. You pay $500 for electric, whatever. Even the insurance doesn't cover. Regular, you don't do it, but now you do it. You work beyond to support the community, sending down some blessings so that his blessing can multiply, blessing more people. That's fighting for the pandemic. To show appreciation, and one gentleman come to over on the weekend, open our water because it shut off. And then you pay him $800, come down, cut out your tree, your yard, and support him. And that's fighting for the pandemic. Your blessing will move further along. He has strength, he can blessing more people. That's fighting for the pandemic. Through the pandemic, you go to the fairs. You go to the fair, you have friends all together. You hire 2 friends that you can sell the nasal filters. You can share the nasal filter, give the nasal filter, and sanitize the people when they come here and leaving. And that's fighting for the pandemic. You go to the fair, you want to spend money to blessing them and you have a good time, enjoy the best you enjoy, but always blessed in the business, they're struggling through the pandemic. That's fighting for the pandemic. Through the pandemic fight, you always long for champions and step up to be a part of that, to kind of help, to kind of support, kind of strengthen you. But even you don't have that yet, but you still keep going and know one day there will be many champions step up to do it together. But at the same time, you try to be a champion for whoever needed. You want to be a champion for the others because you know how hard, what is hard to long for champions step up, what is the loneliness, and then you try to be a champion for the others. That's a fighting for the pandemic. When people call you, are you crazy? Are you out of mind? I don't understand what have you? Why you're changing? Why you're changing? Your behavior change. Your work ethic changing. And you just different like before. I don't understand what's wrong with you. But you still give a smile and keep going. Keep going. Take care of whatever you need to take care, but always have mentality. I have extra job to fighting for the pandemic. And that's fighting for the pandemic. In the pandemic fight, you go to the different places to try to share the protection, share the ways we are on the same team fight the pandemic. But you are misunderstood. The doctor calling you, get out of my premieres. We are saving people's lives. You are causing distraction.